Hi, it's Steve from PartSelect. Today we're going to show you how to change the defrost thermostat on your side-by-side refrigerator, and it's a really easy job. All we're going to need is a 1/4-inch nut driver, a pair of wire strippers and crimpers, and if you can find a heat gun, we could use one of those too. Let me show you how we do it. Now before we begin this repair, the first thing we're going to do is to disconnect the power to the refrigerator, so pull it out far enough to remove the plug. Then we're going to open up that freezer door, and we'll remove any items that are on these lower shelves, and then we'll remove the shelves. This lower one should just tilt up in the front and unhook from the 2 pins on the rear. You slide the bin out, set that aside. Now the middle shelves probably have a locking tab at the back that needs to be popped off, and it just snaps over the metal tines on that shelf. Then we can push it all the way over to the left until it disengages, and then pull it out. Now the defrost thermostat is located right in behind this evaporator cover. It's held in place with 4 1/4-inch hex head screws. So we'll just remove those screws. And with all 4 screws out, next pull that evaporator cover straight up and tilt it and pull it right out and set it aside. Now at this point we can see where the old defrost thermostat is located at the back here. It just has a clip that fastens onto that tubing. So when working in this area, we'll need to be careful because these fins are very sharp, and they may be built up with some ice right at the moment, and if so, just take a hairdryer and gently melt some of that up in this area so that you can actually access that part. And we're just going to push it straight off the back of the tubing, pull it out, and then we're going to cut the leads fairly close to the thermostat, and then we'll splice in the new one. Now we're going to carefully strip back about 1/4 of an inch of the insulation from those 2 wires. And of course we want to make sure that we just take the insulation off the wire and not any of the copper. Now next we'll take our new thermostat and just pull those insulation pieces off of the wire, and they may be trimmed a little bit short, so we're just going to lengthen that just a little bit. And we'll just twist that copper so it's nice and tight. Then we're going to take one of the crimps that are supplied with the kit. We're going to insert that lead completely into that butt splice connector, and we'll crimp it on. Make sure it's crimped good and tight. And we'll do the same for the opposite one. And next, we'll want to slide these 2 pieces of heat shrink tubing over those connectors, one over each of those leads. and then we'll prepare the wire harness inside the refrigerator to crimp these onto. Now the best method I've found for crimping these butt splice connectors in place in a tight situation like this is I'll put my crimpers on the butt splice first, have it lined up right where I want to crimp it, and just keep a little bit of pressure on it. And then I'll position it over the wire and then make sure that that wire goes all the way into the butt splice. And once we've got it completely inserted, we'll crimp that splice in place. And then we'll prepare the second one. And again, make sure that it's completely inserted in the connector before we crimp it. And if need be, straighten that copper strand out. Now I'll check both of those connections, make sure they're good and snug. And now we'll slide that heat shrink tubing completely over that joint, and with a heat gun we'll melt those into place. Now with a heat gun, we want to be very careful around the inner liner of this refrigerator. There's a few seconds of heat on that will melt it and disfigure it, so very carefully position our heat gun. Now once that heat shrink is cooled enough to touch, we'll next position the thermostat with this spring clip. We're going to go right into that back tubing, and then we're going to pull it forward and hook it on from the back side. So very carefully position that spring clip so that it will line up over the tubing. And then snap it into position. And we're going to tuck the excess harness just up above there so that it's out of the way of the heater. And now we're ready to put the evaporator cover back on. So we'll just position it across the face, slide it down behind the shelf rails, and we'll line up those 1/4 inch screws. And we won't tighten any of these screws until we have them all started. Now once we have them all started, we'll tighten them up. Next, we can replace the bins in the shelving. And with the middle shelving, again, we'll insert the shelf to the left first. Push it over as far as it'll go. Bring it over into position, and then snap our shelf lock onto the rear. And now we're ready to reconnect the power, and our repair is complete.
I told you it was an easy job. Thanks for watching, and good luck with your repair.